Namaste. Welcome to our continuation of an analysis of the 40 essential virtues for successful sadhana and actually successful spiritual life. Courage, having no fear, abhaya, fearlessness, not being afraid because you are centered in your true self and you know you have karma and you know it's going to come and it's going to go, and therefore there's no worry. That's the real courage. Not saying, oh, I don't care if 10,000 people shoot me. That's more resolve than courage. But courage is going through it and keeping the eye on the goal, not on what wants to take you away from the goal. This is so important. There's a question in the Bible: who can harm you if you do good? But of course, real good is the highest good. That's why when someone said to Jesus, "Good master," Jesus said, "Why are you calling me good? There's nobody good but God." Now, he didn't mean that he wasn't really God, but that person didn't know he was God, so they had no business speaking to him that way. Anyway, compassion, daya. And this is a good capsulization. The moving of the heart at the sight of the suffering of a creature. Really caring, but see, if you really care, you'll do something, if possible. You see a person dying slowly and painfully, you just give them love and mercy, you pray for them. You can't alleviate their pain. But if you can, then you have to do it. In other words, it says in the Bible, if you see somebody hungry or thirsty, you don't say, oh, get something to eat, go get something to drink. Give them something to eat, give them something to drink. Don't say, oh, well, you need money. Give it to them or show them the way to find it. So compassion is being moved and moved to action, which helps the person. Though sometimes you could do nothing more than just be with them as a sympathetic person and just be with them and help them to endure that. I have in mind a brilliant cousin of mine, a great artist who came to visit us and was staying in our guest house and stood up on something. He wanted to get something off of I think a wardrobe that he put something on top of it. He stood up to get it. It fell off and he died. What a shock. And his wife loved him so, and he loved her so. And I realized there's nothing I can say, but I'll be right here with her. And when we sat and saw his body before it was to be taken away for cremation, I just took a hold of both of her hands and just sat there in silence, loving her in my heart. He'd gotten beyond any problem, so I wasn't worrying about him, but I just was there and held her hands so she knew she was not alone. Sometimes that's the only comfort we can get, but we should give it. The 20th quality, it says sublimity. Boy, that means absolutely nothing. Being sublime, I'm a sublime person. I have no idea what the Sanskrit word is. Okay, but this is a good description. That power of superior souls, in other words, evolved souls, not, oh, I'm better. The power of superior souls under whose influence Even those who are attached to worldly enjoyments and are of a base nature are deterred from sinful acts and take to noble pursuits. In other words, it's your vibrations, your very aura, which is vibrating consciousness. And when the quality of your heart and mind is of, let's say, an exalted state, in other words, looking just toward God and moving toward God through sadhana, then there's a possibility to help others. Yogananda said, save yourself and you will save thousands. Not necessarily meaning you'll write great books and give great talks, and thousands of people will read it in future years, but literally that be so intense as a yogi that the wave of the movement toward higher consciousness and that higher consciousness itself, which is produced by sadhana in you, will go out like a mighty wave and either awaken people to sadhana, or if they're already working at it, strengthening them in sadhana, or just simply helping them understand there's something higher to both be and do. This silent influence is very important. Taylor Caldwell wrote a very interesting book called Grandmother and the Priests. And of course, it's fiction, but it's about how there's this woman who isn't even a Catholic, but she really likes priests. And she's got a lot of money. So once a week, she has a big dinner, and all these priests come and eat there together. And they began sort of swapping their experiences, telling their stories. And so the book is really, every chapter is a priest telling something that was the most influential in his life. And one of the very interesting stories was about a priest whose his brother was also a priest and living in a very small town, and these miracles started happening. So naturally, the local people thought that his brother was a holy man and working miracles. But he knew his brother, and he knew, yes, he's religious, yes, he's devoted, but he's not of the quality of a miracle worker. So he went to visit his brother to see, well, had he misunderstood his capacity? No, he got there and saw his brother was a fine man, but he had no supernatural aspect at all. Well, he stayed there for a while, and there was the town, but he learned that at night the miracles took place. And it would be in different areas of the town. So he thought, all right, something's moving and roving through the town. So it all turns out, to not make it continuously long, that he followed from a distance the town atheist. And what he found when he even got kind of close, the atheist was muttering. And what it was wherever someone was in great need of any kind, whether health or psychological things, spiritual things, the atheist said didn't believe in God, but he gripes at God. In fact, he bitches out God. He stands there, looks at the place where those needy people are living, and just tells God off and asks God basically, what kind of a God are you and what are you worth, etc., etc. And God responds and heals or corrects the situation or illumines the hearts of the person who is in spiritual need. And the idea is the man said he was an atheist, but he acted and felt and spoke as though God was real. Therefore, God, who is real, responded. That's often a form of faith. Acting out, I grew up with, they say, step out on faith. Easy for a person to say, but it can be done. But it does take courage. And that's part of this sublimity. In other words, it is true. Even you understand, Yogananda said, "Save yourself, and you'll save the thousands." Well, before Yogananda was ever born, in Russia, one of the greatest and most beloved Russian Orthodox Saint Seraph Sarab, said the very same thing. Save yourself, and you will save others. And Saint Seraphim has certainly saved people through the centuries. All the great saints that are great wonder workers, they are the sublime people that can evoke sublimity in others. And that should just basically be the the conclusion of that. I see by our time.